Our Tuesday Topics series this winter, as you know, focuses on some of the many services and resources that the library provides to our community. And today we are focusing on housing and food insecurities in Rochester. Our presenter is Dr. Lloyd Holmes, Vice President of Student Services at Monroe Community College. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Holmes to our podium.
Thank you so much. Let me get my PowerPoint up. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Lloyd Holmes. I'm the Vice President for Student Services at Monroe Community College. I have been at the college since March of 2014. I came at the end of March and had my first day on April Fool's Day. So I've been in Rochester for almost 5 years now. And it's been such a wonderful experience. And since coming to the college, I've had an opportunity to really work on some very, very important initiatives as the Vice President for Student Services. And one of those initiatives for the college is food and housing insecurity. So I'm honored that I was asked to come this afternoon and talk to you about how MCC is addressing food and housing insecurity with it, not only at the college, but how we're doing things that really impact the Rochester community. So I'm thrilled to be here. I will tell you that I'm not normally accustomed to speaking into microphones. So if you feel like I'm yelling at you, just give me a little signal and I'll speak a little softer. So I'll try not to scream at you the entire time. This presentation, I will tell you that it's in no particular order, as I have what I'm going to talk about here, but some of these things may not quite be in the order which I present here, but I'm going to tell you about Monroe Community College. And I think it's very interesting that with Monroe being such an amazing institution within the community, oftentimes people don't really know the impact that the college is having on the community. I think several people do, but I think that as I go day to day and I'm talking to some people, particularly like in my neighborhood, and I'm talking about the college and they'll say, really, Monroe does all of that? Monroe does all that? Yes, we do. So I'm just going to give you an overview. I'm going to give a snapshot of our locale, talk about really what got us into this work, the way that we've responded, some of the impact that we've had, and really some of the future directions of the college. As we begin to talk about Monroe Community College, I want to start off by reading our mission to you. Even though the mission isn't up here, our mission, and it's on our letterhead all over the place, it says Monroe Community College is a dynamic learning community where access, excellence, and leadership are the college's hallmarks. Our mission is to educate and prepare diverse learners to achieve scholarly, professional, and individual success within a local and global context. The college serves as a catalyst for innovation, economic development, lifelong learning, and civic engagement. And I will tell you that in that particular mission statement, there are a lot of things that we say there, a lot of things that we're going to do. And so as we begin to think about our mission statement and the things that we do to drive that mission statement, we begin to think about who are we and what do we look like. So I want to tell you here that we're typical in terms of the number of males and females. We're about 53% female, 47% male. But then when you begin to look at our age range, age groups at the college, about 35% of our students are under the age of 20. We have about 31% that are 20 to 24, 14% 25 to 29, and 19% of our students are over the age of 30. So I want you to begin to think about, as you begin to look at these students, we don't just, even though we have a lot of traditional age students, that 18 to 24, we have a lot of students who are outside of that particular age. You look at our enrollment, the enrollment by the numbers, and these are the things that typically when people ask about the college, these are the things that I'm typically saying to folks. Oh, our fall credit is about 12,273 students. 12,273. And then but then I go on to say, well, if you look at our credit and non-credit, we're about 29.5. That's a lot of students when you look at credit, non-credit. We are considered to be a minority serving institution. About 41% of our students are considered to be minority. Here's another thing that's very important for you to notice. If you look at this number right here, and I'm going to talk about that as I go through our presentation. About 81% of our students are from Monroe County. Average age is 21, and then we talk about we're a veteran-friendly campus, and then we look at the number of students who are taking online courses. That number continues to go up. So here are the things that we're very proud of. We're very proud of the fact, we opened our doors in 62. We tell people that we are a true partnership with New York State, Monroe County, and students, that we respond to the needs, for affordable higher education. We respond to skilled workforce development, and we provide, our community with vibrant cultural center. These are the things that we talk about. We are a leader among community colleges. That's our story. We talk about the number of academic programs we have. We talk about online learning, that we have, Phi Theta Kappa, a National Honor Society that's just exceptional. We talk about all the student support services that we have at the college. That's important stuff. We say that as a college, we have the tools to help you succeed. We're constantly looking at our data. We're looking at how we train. We're analyzing. We have a mission. We track stuff. We have all the tools in our toolbox to help individuals succeed. So even with all of these tools, our question is, what are the results? And I apologize, when you look at this particular slide, for some reason, I took the heading off those top two numbers there. But if you look at our 3-year graduation rate, our 3-year graduation rate for the 2015 cohort, that's for individuals who came in 2015 that graduated in 2018, is 23%. 23%. If you look at our fall-to-fall retention rate, that's 53%. So basically, out of every 100 students that we bring in the fall, we're saying we're keeping 53 of them, losing 47. And these are typically the stories that not only this institution, but other institutions don't tell. But as an institution, we've said it is important that we recognize, the first step is admitting that there's a problem, that we've got to do something about it. And so as an institution, we've said we have to do something about it. All of this information is on our website, so it's not that we're trying to hide it. But typically when you start talking to educational institutions, these aren't things that we start to tell. Here's more information from our scorecard. You look at our course completion rates. For fall 2018, it was 66%. These are the individuals who take a course, who complete the course with a C or better. Okay? So that's data that we have that we say, okay, are we okay with this? And so basically what we have said is, as an institution, we have got to do a deeper dive. We got to do a deeper dive. And so we begin to look at our students who we consider to be at risk, students who come in that we say are college ready, not college ready. And as we begin to look at all of this and think about this information, the question that we've said is, how do we become a student-ready college? Oftentimes we're talking about students being college ready. You hear all the time, students are coming to college, they're not ready for college. They're not college ready. But the question is, are we ready to deal with those students who come in? Now, the thing that we found when we were looking at all of this data, you got the data, you got to do something with it. We found that so many of our students that weren't returning, that weren't coming back, they were achieving in the classroom it was something else that was keeping them out. And so we said, okay, there must be some other factors beside academics. And so then we began to think about, I think many of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? I think everybody in the room probably has either talked about it or seen it. And so Maslow's hierarchy of needs says really at the bottom of that it's our physiological needs, that we're not going to reach self-actualization until our physiological needs are met. We also understand that William Glasser, who was a psychiatrist who did reality therapy, control theory, quality management, he says that all of us have basic needs, that all of us have a need for belonging. We want to feel like we're a part of something. We have a need for power. We want to feel important. That we have a need for fun. No matter what it is we do, we want to have fun. We want to have freedom or the ability to make choices. But he says that all of that, when we're thinking about those basic needs, that none of that is important to us until our need for survival is met. Food, clothing, and shelter. So you think about a student sitting in the classroom who's hungry. Is that student going to focus on what's being taught in the classroom? The greater chance is that he or she isn't. Also, as we begin to think about and I'm not going to go through all of this, William Glasser said, okay, let's think about this thing. That we have a real world, we have a perceived world, and we have a quality world. The real world is that which actually exists. And then we as humans, we have a perception of whatever it is that happened, okay? And then we have a quality world where we weigh our perception with what we think is good or bad, okay? And so we began to think about all of this stuff at the college, and particularly because a lot of the food and housing insecurity stuff falls in my area. I'm going back to all of this. But then I said, as an institution, we can theorize all day long. But until we move from theory to practice, we're not going to get anywhere. We have to move beyond theory to practice. And I think that oftentimes as educators, sometimes we'll get caught up in theory. So we also then began to look at, okay, so let's look at our students and where they're coming from. So this was a report that came out by ACT Rochester, where they partnered with the Community Foundation and United Way. And back in 2016, and this is when we, as a college, really began to say, okay, we have an obligation to address food and housing insecurity. And so one of the things that we looked at is that Rochester ranked at that time 5th with regards to the 10 poorest cities for the top 75 metropolitan areas. This came out in their report. Okay? Now, in thinking about that, I showed you a slide earlier that told you where our students are coming from. They're coming from Monroe County, 81% of our students. In addition to that, there's this website out there that talks areavibes.com, so where you can look at employment information for various cities. And so we pulled that information up for the city of Rochester. And you look at the median, if you look at income per capita, Rochester is $19,830 compared to the state 34. National is 29. So we begin to look at all of this data and say this is where our students are coming from. And you go back to Glasser and Maslow saying, okay, food, housing, food, clothing, and shelter. If there's a problem there, are these students going to be successful? This is a report that was prepared for the United Way. And in that report, it says food insecurity is a problem. An estimated 13% of Monroe County residents, almost 99,000 people, are considered food insecure. Measuring they at times were unable to get adequate food in the past year due to lack of money or other resources. This is powerful stuff. Also in their report, it said real income levels have fallen, reinforcing challenges like affordability and food insecurity. Concern over educational attainment in the city of Rochester has grown further. important information that we as a college have looked at. I throw up this information from 2015 because this is sort of when we really got started in this work, 2015, 2016, and we began to think about, okay, look at the percentage of our students who have children. And I have Damon on there because in 2015, we were at the Damon City campus, not at the downtown campus. So I don't want you to think, okay, he put Damon up there and didn't realize that they moved to, to the campus on State Street. This was indeed intentional. You look at the number of our students who are single parent, those who are Pell eligible. This was important information. So what did we do to change the results? We adopted this program called Dream Keepers, and through Scholarship America, and we began to work with Single Stop at the college. Dream Keepers, and I'm not going to read this entire slide to you, but Dream Keepers, in essence, provided micro grants to our students. You look at the fact that we questioned whether or not we could give students up to $500 to handle an emergency. They have a flat tire, they can't pay their rent, or they have an electrical bill that they can't pay. They apply for this money, and then we provide them with a grant for that. So when we initially began to do Dream Keepers, our retention rates, which you may not be able to see over here, in the first semester, it was 85.7%, 88.2% the second, and 87.5% the third. Now, remember I told you that our fall-to-fall retention rate before was what? 50-something%. So, do programs like this work? Yes, they do. In addition to that, we did Single Stop, and these are just some flyers we did. So I always say our Dream Keepers program was really giving a student a fish. The Single Stop program was teaching students how to fish. So basically with the Single Stop program, we are providing them with services in the community that they may not have accessed previously. Some of those social services, whether it's legal services, tax services, health care. We have a lot of individuals who might be eligible for government benefits, but they don't know where to go. We're providing them with that information. These were just some flyers here. One of my favorite flyers that we did that most people hate was this one right here. And it says Single Stop MCC, and most people never see that. But really the aim of this particular flyer was don't get lost in the maze. And that's how oftentimes people who are food and housing insecure may see some of those services that are provided for them. They get lost in the maze of finding those services. With Single Stop, one of the things that we did in the fall semester, we served 200, since fall of 2016, we've served 200 plus students. That number has gone up now. We developed the Universal Bus Pass pilot for 60 students. That's no longer a pilot. So we did that, and we saw similar numbers in terms of our retention rates. So then we said, have we done enough? Have we done enough? Because we provided the students with a fish, and then we provided services to teach them how to fish. So then in fall 2016, we participated in this survey through the Wisconsin Hope Labs. And there were 33,000 students at 70 community colleges in 24 states that participated in this survey. 413 of our students responded. And what did we see? We saw, for our students, just the first line, the food that I bought just didn't last. I didn't have enough money to get more. 53% of our students who responded. The region was 54 and national was 52. 53% of those students who responded. Their food didn't last and they didn't have enough money to get more. These were startling findings for us. Housing. If you look at housing insecurity for the students who responded to this survey, it's very interesting. Let's see here. So if you look at housing, I hit the wrong button. For any of the items below, for students who were thrown out of a home, evicted, stayed in a shelter, stayed in an abandoned building, 12% of those students. Startling. was startling for us. So we said, have we done enough? Absolutely not. And there's a quote here that I use all the time by Joel Salatin. He says, the average person is still under the aberrant delusion that food should be somebody else's responsibility until I'm ready to eat. And we as a college have said we cannot continue to say it's someone else's responsibility. If we're going to live out our mission, we have to be able to provide the support services that individuals need so that they can move up the Maslow's hierarchy. Okay? So our work continues. If you aim at the same target everyone else is aiming at, your shots will end up where everyone else's do. If you till the same soil that everyone else tills, plant the same seeds they plant, and use the same water, you'll get the same garden. That's something that we have said as an institution. We cannot continue to do the same thing over and over and over and expect a different outcome. You can't do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome. So our work continues. You know, we have 3 different food pantries now. We have a residence hall food pantry. And we've said that as an institution, a part of our job is to partner with the community. So, and I will tell you, you have to move beyond the food pantry. It's beyond the food pantry. You can't merely have a food pantry and expect the needs of the community to be met. But here's the start. We also have these little wagons that roll around the campus that say, grab a bite, need more for tonight? And it has little snacks on it because we recognize that oftentimes our students are going to class hungry. And if you're hungry sitting in a class, you're not going to get the information that you need. So this is more with our Dwight. In addition to that, our public safety department has this program, Parking for Fines. They did this in December. We got so many items from that our Brighton campus food pantry are just now asking for goods because we got so many goods through our Parking for Fines. We do stall talk. So on Stall Talk, if you go in the bathroom, there's this placard that has information for the week. And one of the things that we do with that, I don't know if you can see this, but Coffee, Tea, and We, through our Multicultural Center, they do Coffee, Tea, and We, because oftentimes people will come into the Multicultural Center for coffee, and they can have a conversation, and we will refer them to a source of help. Our work continues. We've established a resource committee, and it's interesting that I say to people all the time that one of the things that we as an institution can get behind, if we can get behind absolutely nothing else, our folks support our addressing food and housing insecurity. Every single person at the institution is supportive of these efforts. We do employee payroll deduction now. We've said, how can we think outside the box to address this? So employee payroll deduction. We're in conversation with Sodexo. We partner with Panera Bread Company. So every 2 weeks we go and pick up, so with Panera every week on Thursdays we go and pick up the leftover food at Panera, bring it to campus so that individuals can have, in the residence halls, can have food for the weekends. Partner with Panera. We just did a partnership with Whole Foods. So, and I didn't put it on this slide, we with that partnership, every 2 weeks we go to Whole Foods and get, I don't mean Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, I apologize. We go to Trader Joe's and we get between 300 and 800 pounds of food for our students at the downtown campus. Between 300 and 800 pounds of food from Trader Joe's. Our food resources are listed in financial aid, so we're able to tell our students where to go. All of our faculty have a basic needs statement on the core syllabi. If you're experiencing food and housing insecurity, it tells you to have a conversation with any department in student services, and we'll respond to it. We are investing in food scholarships for our students, and we're doing quite a bit of work with private donors to address it. So the lesson that I will say that we as a college have is that you have to stay wide in your thinking. Don't discount the things that seem unconnected. The benefits to your thinking can be tremendous. You have to move, if these issues are going to be addressed, as a college, we're saying you have to move beyond that inside the box thinking. We are our president serves as one of the co-chairs for the SUNY, the State University of New York, Food Insecurity Task Force. So we are leading many of the efforts when it comes to addressing food insecurity, not only at the local level, but at the national level as well. And with that, supposed to leave time for questions, so I will turn it over for questions at this point. I'll apologize to, yes, I will. So the question was, is FoodLink involved in any way at MCC? And I'll apologize that I didn't mention it in my presentation. FoodLink is a major partner with MCC. We, our Dwight Food Pantry, we're stocked through FoodLink. And as we're looking at some of the private gifts that we're looking at, a part of that is how can we partner with FoodLink to provide even greater services to our students. As we begin to think about our food scholarships, our partner would be FoodLink. Yes. So they're a major player. So I will tell you that in the fall semester, we had on the Brighton campus approximately 200 students that utilized it. At the downtown campus, it was 93. And so what we're looking at now is looking at, because we gather the data associated with the individuals who go. And we found that for those students who utilize, so we use their student ID number. We found that the students who it's having the most impact on are African American students, part-time students, and those single mothers. Yes. So the question was I didn't talk a lot about housing insecurity and what are we as a college doing to address housing insecurity. I will tell you that one of the issues that we've had the most with is how do we address those students who are housing insecure. Through our Dream Keepers program, we oftentimes are giving dollars to address the housing insecurity of our students. We are oftentimes referring our students to shelters. So we're connected in the community with housing options. It's one of the things that we're exploring various options. One of the options that I will just put out there that we're exploring, and we got this idea from another institution, that oftentimes in assisted living facilities, there are vacancies there. And how do we partner with those facilities to get students to be able to move into those spaces to not only have more security in housing, but also to assist with the individuals who are living in those facilities to become sort of a bridging of the generations. So we're looking at that. We're looking at our residence halls who oftentimes may not be filled to capacity. How do we partner with the association in order to use some of those beds? But the majority of it is assistance with rent payment, assistance with utility bills through our Dream Keepers program. So are there any social programs that really link first generation students together? It's interesting because we are working with our IR people right now, looking at calling out some of those populations. We as a college, in terms of addressing food and housing insecurity with that particular population, we certainly have not done that in terms of food and housing insecurity. It's been more so globally looking at those students. There is a lot of discussion about how do we address first time in college students, because that's where iPads measures us. For those students who are first time full time, and oftentimes those are first in college students. So we're identifying a lot of those populations, trying to put things in place. But in terms of social services, the answer would be no at this point. Any help with books and computers? We do have some grants in place that will assist with that. And the other thing that we have found is that if we get students to apply for financial aid, which we're doing, prior to a student being able to access some of these services, you must have completed the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. And so typically with these particular programs, we want to make certain that you've exhausted all other possibilities, because we don't have sufficient funds to get everybody that has an issue. So we assist students in completing those like their free application for federal student aid, because oftentimes students are leaving money on the table. And so we're trying to say, how do we make certain that you get all the money that's sitting on the table for you? If a student has to run here, that's problematic for the student. They give up. And so, I'll go back to your first time in college students. Oftentimes, when we're dealing with students, because we've gone to college ourselves, we understand our processes, but oftentimes students don't. And so it goes back to us becoming really listening to the voice of our students, assessing what we're doing, and really saying that we as a college, we are going to be a student-ready college. And I will tell you that of all the institutions that I've worked at, institutions that I sort of run in circles with, I'm finding that MCC is truly a leader of the pack. We do, as an institution, I will tell you, there are some things where we may follow, but that is not our intent. That's not our intent. You identify the problem, and then you say, okay, we can't sit on our laurels and say, oh, we're a great institution. We can't address this issue. We don't do that. And I think you see that from the leadership on down. We cannot accept mediocrity. Yeah, so we have quite a few students who come and enroll in our non-credit courses. So basically, there are some things through our economic development, innovative workforce services that, if you come and take a photography class, you can come in and take that for non-credit. Yeah, primarily non-credit. Yes, return to complete. one of the things that, so we have a program called Return to Complete. And so for individuals who have been out of college for 3 years, owe the college money, we're saying that we will defer that debt to allow that student to come back and complete the degree. Because oftentimes, well, we say all the time that one of the ways out of poverty is an education. That's key. And we found as an institution that there were quite a number of students that, and I'll put the number out there, there were about 7,000 students out there that owed the college money. And because you owe the college money, you can't come back until that money is paid. Well, if I can't afford to pay you the $500 to come back, then, okay, if I complete the FAFSA and I'm able to get financial aid, but I still owe this $500 because I can't apply my FAFSA to, I can't get the aid I get through FAFSA to pass debt, that's a problem. And so that was a barrier. And so one of the things that we found is that, okay, if we defer this debt, allow you to come back, and then put things in place for you, whether it's mentoring, coaching, because you can't just let the students come back and not have the support in place that they need. So put all the supports in place, and then you're talking to them about financial literacy and money management, the services that exist in the community, child care, all of those types of things. Those are the things that we're putting in place and having those conversations. So yes, we see it as a direct link to some of those services out there. Yes, yes, sir.
I noticed on your slide that you did a survey.
Uh-huh.
That was a national survey.
Yes.
But the numbers were about equal.
Yes.
So this problem is not unique at MCC.
It is not unique at MCC, and I think that when you look at some of the work of Sarah Goldrick-Robb, who is at Temple University, she initially did the survey with 10 institutions. And then it went to 70 community colleges, and MCC was the only community college in New York that participated in it. Was the only one. So the data that I put up was for 70 community colleges across the country in 24 states. Yes, sir. Relative community colleges, so the question related to the 23% 3-year graduation rate that I showed up here. And is that low in terms of community colleges? I will say I would say that it's not low, unfortunately. And I think that one of the things that we find is that community colleges have an open door admissions policy. And it's interesting to see if I can go back to it, find this particular slide, and I'll point it out to you. Which we find very interesting that, okay, here, I'm getting close. Okay, this one right here. So it's interesting that when you look at the 23% here, okay? Now, when we looked at this 23%, if you look at the students who come to the college who are college ready with no academic risk, it's in the 40s. So if you come to the college, you don't need remedial math or remedial reading, it's in the 40s. But as a college, we say we accept whoever comes to our door. And we look at our numbers based upon whoever is there. We can't get rid of those individuals who have academic risk in order to make ourselves look good. So for those who are college ready, in the 40s. Yeah, they're all open admissions, and you know, I think most institutions probably look at, oh, well, if we could get rid of this population, what would our numbers look like? Well, you can't get rid of them, nor do we want to. We want those students. So we are part of the Guided Pathways program. So basically, what we're trying to do is make certain that when students come to our door, we help them identify a path. We help them once they identify it, and you know they choose the path. We want to make certain that they get on the path, that they learn, and that they graduate. And so when we're talking about getting on a path, we're talking about really identifying early on what it is that they want to do, and what they, you know, what's your ultimate goal when it comes to your career. And so one of the things that we as an institution, we participated in the AACC Guided Pathways project, and then we became a leader in the state. So we're leading 9 other institutions in terms of guided pathways. With that, we're helping students to identify earlier what it is that they need. And we're trying to make certain that we're providing them with the supports that they need along the way. Now, in doing that, that means you've got to do a better job at getting to know your students. Because if you don't know your students and you're not recognizing when they have an issue, then they're going to fall off and you're not going to recognize it. And so we've sort of revamped the entire institution around this Guided Pathways initiative, so that we're doing more intrusive advising, you know, helping students select courses, choosing a shorter path to graduation. And so we went full scale fall 2016, and so we got some data recently that shows that this Guided Pathways project is working. So you should see increased numbers in terms of fall-to-fall retention rate, our course completion rate. So we're doing quite a bit to address these numbers as an institution. Yes, sir. I'm trying to remember what our... I don't want to give you the wrong number, but I will tell you, we do have a high percentage of our students who graduate from the institution. They do transfer. I wish I could tell you what that number is. Yeah, so they do go on. I think the other thing that I will say is important for us is figuring out what is the student's intent when they come. There are some students who come into programs, they have no intention of transferring to a 4-year institution, okay? No intention whatsoever. We also have students who are coming merely to take a course. So it's recognizing what the student's intent is in helping them to achieve the goal. So in terms of non-credit students being able to avail themselves of the service, for the funding, you have to be a full-time matriculated student in order to access the funding. For those students for those services like single stop, where we're referring you to agencies within the community, absolutely anybody who's enrolled at the institution can come and receive those services. But for the grant funding that we give through Dream Keepers, you have to be a full-time credit student. Okay. In terms of the ramification for the community, I will say that it's been very important that we as an institution don't operate within a silo. And I think that oftentimes, if we're only dealing with the four walls of MCC, we have a problem here because our students are a part of the community, and that's why there's community in our name. And so we recognize that we have to partner with the community in order to achieve our desired outcomes. We're having conversations with an organization right now discussing childcare and how we can work with not only the individuals who are on our campus, but how do we leverage those partnerships so that individuals who might not see college as an option, how do we give them that option? One of the issues that we saw, when we were looking at partnering with RTS, was students were having major issues with transportation. And so one of the things that we were lucky in that our board allowed us, thanks to one of our board chair who's here, our board allowed us to enter into a partnership with RTS so that we could move that out of the way. And so all these services that we're creating, that we're providing, we're able to go into the community as we're recruiting folks and saying, okay, here are the things that we can do for you to assist you. The college hired an admissions counselor whose job is to go into these various social service agencies just to recruit people to help get them out of poverty. So we're doing a lot to partner with with agencies in the community. We see that as a part of our mission. Okay, I think my time is up.